So tonight we're going to start a new series. And the series is going to be about different numbers in the Bible that continually get repeated. And we're going to start with the number 40. That's repeated a lot. So is 7, so is 3, but we're going to start with 40. And I'm going to tell you the story that goes along with that number. So we're going to go back to Genesis chapter 6. And the 40 that we're going to talk about tonight is the 40 days and 40 nights of rain. Yes. So in chapter 6, in verse 3, it says, "And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years." What that means is that God's going to give them 120 years from the time that Noah starts telling them about the flood until the flood actually happens. And you know, people lived a long time then. So it shows that he's forbearing. And in 1 Peter 3:20, it talks about this time and says about God's long suffering, giving them all this time to repent and get on the ark. But you know what? Think about how hard it would be. It had never rained before. Okay, it had never rained before. So when somebody's telling you it's going to rain, well, even for Noah, it'd be hard to believe. But Noah believed God. In verse 5, it says, "And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was evil continually," meaning completely corrupt, without cure. These people didn't want to turn to God. "And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast and creeping thing and fowls of the air, for I'm sorry that I have made them. But," verse 8, "but Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord." And you know what's interesting about this verse? This is the first time in the whole Bible that the word grace is used. And you think about all the times we hear about God's grace, which is something he gives us we don't deserve. And that's what Noah found. He found grace in God's sight. God gave him something and his family that they really didn't deserve. He was a righteous man, but he wasn't perfect. There's nobody perfect. So these are the generations of Noah. And Noah was a just man and blameless in his generations, and Noah walked with God. Do you know who else walked with God before Noah?
Enoch.
Yeah.
That's right. It says that Enoch walked with God, and then God took him.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, it says Noah walked with God. And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So then he ends up telling Noah to make the ark. And verse 17, "And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein there is breath of life from under heaven. And everything that is in the earth shall die. But with thee," he's speaking to Noah, "will I establish my covenant." Okay, I want you to remember about this because we're going to talk about it a little later, about God's covenant with Noah and his descendants. "And thou shalt come into the ark, and thy sons and thy wife and thy son's wife with thee, and every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort, shalt thou bring into the ark, to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female. Of the fowls after their kind, and the cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing." Just think, little roaches and spiders were all crawling onto the ark, and fleas, they're probably coming on the animals. 2 of every sort, it says, shall come to thee. Do you see that he didn't have to go out and collect it? It says they would come to him to keep them alive. So he didn't have to go out and gather anybody. God put it in the minds of the animals to go to the ark. And take thou of thee of all food that is eaten, and you shall gather it to you, and it shall be food for you and for the animals. Thus did Noah according to all that God had commanded him. So he did. And the Lord said unto Noah, this is chapter 7, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for I have seen righteousness before me in this generation. Verse 4, For yet 7 days, that's another number we're going to talk about eventually, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. And Noah did according unto all that the Lord commanded him. Verse 10, And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. So after they got into the ark, it was 7 days, and then the flood started. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened, and rained upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. That's our 40. But I want to talk to you about this. The heavens opening up. It's not the heaven where God lives. It's the firmament, the heavens, that sky. And remember, it had never rained before. So there was some kind of watery seal above the earth. And the dew would come down every night, but it had never rained before. And then when it talks about the waters of the deep, the actual word is the abyss. So there was water, not just in the ocean, but water in the earth. And so the sky broke open, the earth broke open, and boom. And it rained. And it rained. But remember the purpose of the ark. The purpose of the ark wasn't to be like a seafaring ship. It was a barge. And it was only there to keep people alive. That was it.
And the animals. And the animals.
Oh yeah, and the animals. Verse 16, And they went in, male and female of all flesh, as God had commanded him. And the Lord shut him in. After Noah and his family got in, the Lord shut the door. So that means no man could open it. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lifted up above the earth. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl, cattle, beast, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was a breath of life, of all that was in the dry land, died. And every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. So it wasn't just 40 days they were on the ark with all of these animals. Think of the cleaning up all the poop and feeding them and the smell and all this. And just think at night you'd hear a lion roar. And, I mean, it had to be really scary. And here's the other thing that's scary. When the rain started, you got to understand that these people, they just had to be pounding on the door. No, we changed our mind, let us in. And just think how they had to hear the people crying and screaming until it stopped, until they all drowned. That would be a horrible experience for Noah and his family.
Exactly.
I don't think they think, hey, those people deserve it. They'd be saying, hey, this is horrible. I wish I could let them in.
Yeah.
But God shut the door. Now, I want to tell you something about, there are 3 arks in the Bible. 3 is another number we're going to cover later. This is the first one. The second one is in Exodus 2:3. Pharaoh wanted to kill all the male babies. Children of Israel were just getting too numerous, and they were kind of getting afraid of them. And this is Exodus 2, verse 1 through 3. And there went a man of the house of Levi and took a wife, a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw that he was a goodly child, she hid him for 3 months. Now that'd be hard. Just think how often a baby cries. You'd have to keep him quiet, because if anyone found out, he'd get thrown into the Nile River and be eaten by crocodiles. And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the reeds by the riverbank. And his sister stood afar off to see what would become of him. That was his sister Miriam. Well, of course, that was Moses. That was the second ark. So we have this ark that saved the world, and then we have that ark that saved Moses, who saved the children of Israel from slavery in Egypt. And then we have a third ark. What was that?
Ark of the Covenant.
That's exactly right, the Ark of the Covenant. My point is, arks carry precious cargo,
They do.
don't they?
They really do.
Okay, now we're going to go back to Genesis chapter 7. In verse 20, it says, 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. So what it's saying is, 15 cubits is about 22 and a half feet higher than the highest mountain.
Oh, wow.
So that's one way we know it's a universal flood. The other way is because God said every man, every creature would die. And you know, when you think about it, it's kind of too bad the animals had to die. They had to die because of man's sin. That's why they all had to die. Chapter 8. And God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from the heaven was restrained, and the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of 150 days, the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters deceased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. You know, this is a huge structure, and he can't see out to see how far down the water is. So he sends out a raven and a dove. Well, a raven will eat dead things, but the dove returns. And he does this several times, and one time the dove returns with an olive leaf. Yeah, a little olive branch. But he knows the dove couldn't find rest, so he stays on the ark. Then when he sends the dove out later and the dove doesn't return, now he knows that's his sign to leave the ark. So they end up getting off of the ark. Chapter 9, verse 11. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by waters of a flood, neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. Okay, so his covenant with Noah and his descendants, and he made a covenant with the animals too, that he would never destroy the whole earth again with a flood. And that is called an unconditional covenant, because it doesn't matter what man does, doesn't matter what animals do. It's unconditional because God said this is the way it's going to be forever. And he's going to seal it. And I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. Now, I want you to think about, in those days, what was a bow used for? For war.
Yeah.
God said, I'm setting down my bow with the earth. And you see, because it had never rained before, there had never been a rainbow before. This was the first one. And I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud, and I will remember my covenant. He's going to remember it when he sees the bow. It's not just us, it's him too, which is between me and you and every living creature. And the water shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And God said to Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. So this story ends with the rainbow. And you know, when you see a rainbow, don't you just get a good feeling?
Yeah.
You call someone on the phone, hey, I just saw a rainbow, go look out your window. It's exciting. And then, wait, it's a double rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it still brings excitement to people today to see God's promise in the sky. But getting back to the 40 of this story, I think that the number 40, as we're going to find out, as many times as it appears in the Old Testament and the New Testament, it's always God proving something.